First, I want to let you know that I am very pleased to see you online. Last week, we learned about various aspects of value and its components. As well, we were introduced to the 8 steps in the appraisal process. Some textbooks teach this in a 7-step tier or some other configuration. It really isn't that important, so long as all the pieces fit into the process. This week, we will be learning about the 3 ways we legally describe land. The metes and bounds system is especially useful when describing irregular parcel. It literally starts from a point of beginning, that is, the POB, and then goes, for example, 100 meters to the west, and then, for example, 100 meters to the north, and then by various degrees finds its way back to the point of beginning, or the POB. The second way of legally describing land is the rectangular survey system, or government survey. It describes sections and townships. Note that when we are in an airplane going over the Central Valley, for example, we see squares and rectangles of farmland. Most of these properties are legally described by the rectangular survey system using sections, which are 1 square mile made up of 640 acres. It includes ranges and townships. Then, the third method, which we find is on page 118 in the textbook. We are introduced to the lot, block, and tract system, which is most familiar to most of us. What is the tract number from when your home was built? It is not unusual for someone to ask which tract your home is in. It may have a name, but it most likely has a number as well, even though you may not know what the number of the tract you live in. The textbook also introduces us to some of the more simple math calculations for which we must be familiar. For example, figuring out the square footage of a home from a sketch or maybe from a floor plan. Chapter 5 deals with understanding data and the collection of data. Real property appraisal deals with market trends data. It deals with data regarding the subject property. It deals with data regarding comparable sales. Some of this data is generated by the appraiser, some by data sources, for example, the multiple listing service or MLS that the realtors use, and some of it is the data generated by the assessor's office. There is data collected and distributed by the title companies and other sources as well. Chapter 6 deals with site valuation. It is extremely important that we understand how to value the site, or the dirt as we refer to it. Depending on the zoning, what is legally allowed to be built on the dirt can make an enormous difference in the value of the property. For example, it may be that a small lot in a residential neighborhood appears to be suited for building a house. However, when we investigate the zoning, we find that a commercial use is allowable. It might be that there are only a few commercial properties in the vicinity, and this property might be available for a small retail store or a convenience store. This could make the property much more valuable than for a residential home. This analysis we do is referred to as a highest and best use analysis. On every appraisal we do, we must examine the property and find out what the most productive thing we could legally build on the property. A residential house on a major street may be more valuable as an office for a CPA or an attorney than to be continued use as a residence. Maybe, maybe not. That's our job to figure it out. Well, again, it's nice to see you online, and I'll be talking to you again next week.